Have you ever been judged in a single glance, your worth dismissed before you could speak? The Grand Meridian Hotel in Chicago gleamed under the morning sun, its marble lobby a symphony of polished elegance and quiet power. Crystal chandeliers cast soft prisms across the floor, where business travelers and conference attendees moved with purpose. At the heart of this orchestrated chaos stood Eliza Morgan, a tech executive whose name carried weight in boardrooms across continents. Her emerald coat, tailored to perfection, hugged her frame, and her mahogany suitcase gleamed beside her, a testament to her hard-earned status. She was here for a global tech summit, a pivotal moment for her company, Morgan Tech. Eliza approached the check-in counter, her reservation details in hand. The clerk, Vanessa Reed, glanced up, her eyes sweeping over Eliza's skin, her accent, her deliberate poise. A thin chuckle escaped Vanessa's lips, sharp and cold, like a blade hidden in silk. "There's been a mix-up," she said, her smile tight as a wire. "Your penthouse suite's been reassigned. We've moved you to a standard room, 12B, by the elevators." Eliza's pulse slowed, not from shock, but from a bone-deep clarity. She'd confirmed the penthouse months ago, double-checked with her assistant. This wasn't a glitch, it was a judgment, drawn from the color of her skin and the soft cadence of her voice. The lobby hummed with life, briefcases clicking, heels tapping, voices murmuring, but a ripple of silence spread around her. Guests glanced her way, some with fleeting pity, others with impatience, eager to move on. A man in a rumpled suit stepped forward, and Vanessa greeted him with warm efficiency, upgrading his room with a few swift keystrokes. Eliza's hands grew cold, not with fear, but with recognition. This was no isolated slight. It was a system, polished to perfection, designed to dismiss those it deemed out of place. Her spine straightened, her presence a quiet anchor amidst the tide of indifference. "I'd like to speak to a manager," Eliza said, her voice low but unyielding, like a river carving through stone. Vanessa's smile sharpened, her fingers dancing across the keyboard with feigned concern. "Of course," she said, her tone laced with condescension, as if Eliza's request was a minor nuisance. She radioed for a supervisor, her eyes flicking to the next guest, dismissing Eliza's presence. The lobby pulsed with the rhythm of travel. A young concierge, Mia, hovered near a service door, her badge glinting under the chandeliers. Her eyes met Eliza's briefly, then darted away, betraying a flicker of guilt. Eliza caught a whisper between Mia and another staffer. "They said she doesn't fit the brand image. Better in a standard room." The words landed like a spark in dry grass, igniting a fire in Eliza's chest, not rage, but a piercing understanding. This was a tapestry of bias, woven from countless glances, whispers, and decisions made in the shadows. Eliza's phone buzzed softly in her pocket. A message from her assistant, Lauren, ready. The corner of her mouth twitched, not into a smile, but a line of resolve. Morgan Tech wasn't just a company, it was a powerhouse, with millions in bookings tied to the Grand Meridian's parent chain. Partnerships, elite memberships, global influence. They had underestimated her, and that was their first mistake. The manager, Derek Holt, arrived, his face a mask of practiced indifference. His suit was crisp, but his eyes avoided Eliza's. "It's just policy," he said, his voice flat. "Sometimes reservations get adjusted for operational needs. Nothing personal." His words were a script, designed to deflect, to bury the truth under layers of bureaucracy. Eliza's gaze held steady, cutting through his excuses like a blade. "I'd like the policy in writing," she said, her tone calm but sharp as steel. Derek faltered, his fingers fumbling with his tablet. "We'll look into it," he muttered, retreating behind the counter. Vanessa resumed her duties, her smile brittle, her hands betraying a slight tremor. The other guests shuffled forward, their discomfort buried under the urgency of their schedules. A middle-aged woman with a designer bag watched Eliza for a moment, her lips pressed into a thin line, but she turned back to her phone, choosing silence over solidarity. Eliza stepped back, her eyes scanning the lobby like a chess player studying the board. She noted every detail, the hurried staff, the averted gazes, the seamless machinery of compliance. A security officer near the entrance stood impassive, his hands resting lightly on his belt. He wasn't called to act, not because there was no cause, but because the drama was wrapped in a silence that never reached the threshold of confrontation. Her phone buzzed again. Lauren's team was moving swiftly. Legal advisors were drafting notices, financial officers reviewing contracts. Morganteca's influence stretched far beyond this lobby, and Eliza knew how to wield it. She didn't need to raise her voice. Her power was in precision, in the quiet moves that shifted entire systems. By noon, the hotel's operations began to falter. Booking systems glitched, VIP reservations froze without explanation. Vanessa fumbled through manual check-ins, her composure cracking as complaints piled up. Guests muttered about delays, their impatience spilling over. Derek fielded urgent calls from corporate, his face paling with each conversation. Whispers spread among the staff, rumors of audits, contract disputes, a major client pulling out. Mia, the young concierge, lingered near the counter, her hands twisting nervously. She'd seen it all, the whispers, the smirks, the dismissal. Her guilt weighed heavier with each passing minute. During a quiet moment, she approached Eliza, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm sorry," she said, her eyes glistening. "I heard what they said about you, and I didn't speak up. I should have." Eliza met her gaze, her expression softening but firm. "It's not too late," she said. "Courage starts with one step." Mia nodded, her resolve flickering like a candle in a storm. Her confession was a crack in the system's armor, a small but significant fracture. Eliza's thoughts drifted to her own journey. She'd faced moments like this before, glances that judged, systems that dismissed. Each had forged her resilience, teaching her that power wasn't in loud protests but in calculated action. As a black woman in tech, she'd navigated boardrooms where her presence was questioned, deals where her expertise was doubted. But she'd built Morgantech into a force, not by shouting, but by outmaneuvering those who underestimated her. Back at the counter, Vanessa's movements grew erratic. She miskeyed reservations, her forced smile faltering as guests complained. Derek hovered nearby, his phone pressed to his ear, his voice tight with panic. The hotel's polished facade was fracturing, its systems trembling under the weight of hidden disruptions. Eliza's team had initiated a cascade, vendor codes failing, priority systems flagged for review. The Grand Meridian was a cornerstone of its parent chain, but it was no match for the quiet influence of a woman who knew her worth. By early afternoon, Derek was summoned to a glass-walled conference room, where two compliance officers waited. Their faces were stern, their questions pointed. "Explain the reassignment," one demanded. "Was it an error, or was it deliberate?" Derek stammered, citing system issues, but the truth seeped through, decisions made in whispers, biases dressed as protocol. Vanessa sat in the break room, her notebook untouched, her reflection in a scratched mirror revealing a flicker of regret. She opened her phone and drafted an email to Eliza, raw and unpolished. "I saw what we did, and I didn't stop it. I let it happen because it was easier. I'm sorry." Mia, inspired by Eliza's resolve, took a bolder step. She filed a formal report, detailing the whispered policies, the smirks behind desks, the silent complicity that had enabled the discrimination. It wasn't comprehensive, but it was a start, a ripple that could grow into a wave. Eliza didn't stay to watch the fallout. From her office across town, she orchestrated the reckoning with eerie calm. Morgantech withdrew its partnership with the hotel chain, redirecting millions in bookings to competitors. Audits were launched, reputations shaken, not by public scandal, but by the quiet erosion of trust. The Grand Meridian's parent company scrambled to contain the damage, but the cracks were too deep. Eliza's thoughts turned to the bigger picture. This wasn't just about one hotel, one moment. It was about a culture that thrived on silence, on policies that protected prejudice over truth. She convened a virtual summit with her board, her voice steady as she issued a directive: "Our partnerships must reflect dignity as a foundation, not a privilege. Any that fail this standard will end. No exceptions." Her words weren't a reaction, they were a blueprint for change, a restructuring of systems that had long relied on complicity. The next day, Eliza gathered her closest advisors at a discreet retreat in the suburbs. Over coffee and quiet conversation, they shared stories, not just of failures, but of resilience. They drafted plans, not to patch old systems, but to build new ones, rooted in equity and accountability. Eliza listened, her presence a quiet anchor, her vision clear. The systems we create, she said, must be strong enough to withstand bias, but flexible enough to correct it. We're not here to repair, we're here to reimagine. By evening, the Grand Meridian was in disarray. Derek faced disciplinary action, his career teetering on the edge. Vanessa was called to account, her biases laid bare in a meeting she couldn't charm her way out of. Mia's report sparked internal reviews, forcing the hotel chain to confront its own failures. Morganteca's withdrawal sent shockwaves, with competitors seizing the opportunity to court Eliza's business. The hotel's reputation crumbled, not with a bang, but with the steady drip of accountability. Eliza didn't need to see the chaos to know she'd won. Her victory was in the quiet dismantling of a system that had underestimated her. She'd exposed its flaws, not with anger, but with precision, turning its own machinery against it. Eliza Morgan's story is more than a tale of triumph, it's a call to action. It's about refusing to be erased, about wielding resilience as a weapon against injustice. Her journey reminds us that power isn't in loud protests, but in the quiet, deliberate actions that rewrite the rules. If this story moved you, share where you're watching from in the comments below. Hit that like button and subscribe to join a community that stands for justice, equity, and change. Together, we can build a world where dignity isn't a privilege, it's a right.